the chamber below the city, something that could not die was thinking. No one was watching. That was the part that mattered. The room had not changed. The chains were still in place. The runes still glowed their cold, functional blue. The high loom stood exactly where they had stood when the quartet first entered, and Moria sat exactly as he had sat. Half flesh, half ruin, hands open in his lap, eyes downward. Lear spoke. He had killed 4 sovereigns to get to this room. He and the 3 people standing behind him had crossed an ocean, descended into the dark, burned a spider queen from the inside out, and carried the only key that could open these gates. They had not come this far to be told the problem had no name. The problem had a name. Lear had found it in the fragments themselves. He laid it out for the high loom without ceremony. Moria's soul was not absent. It was not destroyed. It was distributed, threaded deliberately through each of the 7 broken pieces of the Armistice of Ash. As long as the seal remained shattered, his soul persisted across it. He could not die, because he had made himself part of the thing that could not be reassembled without him. Silence. Then Moria's eyes move, not toward Lear, not toward the high loom. Nowhere specific, just moved. And his head tilted, fractionally. The way a person tilts their head when they hear something spoken aloud that they had not expected anyone to find. The chains did not tighten. His expression did not change. He said nothing. He did not need to. The high loom understood what had just happened. The finest magical minds in the Meridian. 53 years of study, of documentation, of standing in this room and believing they understood what they were looking at. A warlock who had been in the city for less than a day had walked in and seen what none of them had seen. That landed the way things land when they cannot be taken back. There were 2 options. Destroy the seal pieces completely. Every fragment gone. No armistice, no restoration, no possibility of ever reforging the thing that had held the world together. And Moria dead. His soul torn apart with the objects that held it. Or find a way to unbind him from the seal without destroying either. The high loom had no answer for the second option. The silence that followed that admission was its own kind of statement. The oldest and most powerful magical institution in the known world. The people who had held this problem for half a century. And they were out of moves. The first option was the end of something that could not be rebuilt. The second had no method, no precedent, no name. The quartet was given a mansion within the city and told to rest. The mansion was quiet in the way that cities built for wizards are quiet. Not empty, not peaceful. A specific quality of silence that suggests the walls are paying attention. They found the letter on the table in the main hall. No seal, no signature. The handwriting was precise and unhurried, the kind of script that belongs to someone who has written the same words many times in their head before committing them to parchment. It said this: the seal must be taken to Vara. Vara, a major city the quartet knew from the earliest days of their journey. A name that had a weight to it, a place that had existed in the same era as Iron Cove and Aethelgard, one of the great cities of the Meridian. The letter said one more thing. There is a chance of finding a celestial in Vara. It said, discuss this only with the leader of the Weavers. No one else should know. It did not say who had sent it. A celestial. In the Meridian, that word did not require elaboration. The quartet had felt what celestial light did to a demon army. They had stood in the scorched silence afterward and not spoken for a long time. The letter offered nothing more. They brought the letter to the leader of the High Loom and no one else. They told him the destination, Vara. They told him the seal needed to go there, that somewhere in that city lay a path toward unbinding Moria's soul from the fragments. That was what they shared, nothing more. He read the letter, set it down, read it again. Then he stood and called for the fragments to be brought up from their vault. The Weavers had no solution. The letter offered a direction. The fragments could not stay in Aethelgard indefinitely. 53 years of holding a problem that had only grown more complex was not the same as solving it. The 7 pieces of the Armistice of Ash were brought to the chamber in a sealed case. The leader of the High Loom held it for a moment before he passed it to Calister. Protect this with your lives. This object had not left Aethelgard in 53 years. It had been in this city since before some of the weavers in this room were born. Studied, documented, argued over, and ultimately held because there was nothing else to do with it. Now it moved. Vaelwyn and Sarathiel were readied on the battlements. Valerie worked in silence. Straps, feathers, talons, the focused preparation of someone who understands that careful hands are the difference between arriving and not. The wind-veiled and the silent feather of night stood patient in the cold Aethelgard air, the barrier dome arching above them. The city felt different, not in any way that could be named. The streets were the same. The weavers moved with their usual deliberate calm. But something in the atmosphere had shifted, the way air shifts before a storm still hours away. The knowledge that something has changed its mind. Tharok checked his glaive. Lear stood at the edge of the battlement and looked out over the city without moving. Calister held the sealed case and did not put it down. They mounted. The gates of Aethelgard opened. The guards stepped aside. The pale stone archway framed a world beyond the barrier that was darker than the world within it. They flew. The pale spires receded. The barrier dome caught the morning light. The city grew smaller and became a glow, and then became nothing. The Armistice fragments flew with them. For the first time in 53 years, the broken pieces of the world's last piece were moving through the air over the Meridian. Ahead, Sol Vara, a letter with no sender, and the word that the quartet had not spoken aloud to anyone outside that room. The word that sat between them, like a coal that had not yet decided whether it would go out or catch. Celestial. In Aethelgard, the city did not notice at first. The streets continued. The weavers moved through their routines. The arcane lanterns held their color. Then something shifted in the atmosphere. Not a sound, not a sight. The specific wrongness of a room where a door has opened that was always closed. A change in pressure. A change in the quality of the air around the containment chamber. The runes on the walls did not go dark. The chains did not break. And yet, in the chamber below the city, black aura began to bleed from Moria's body. Slow, not violent, deliberate. The way smoke rises from something that has been smoldering for a very long time and has finally decided it no longer needs to hide. It moved through the chains without touching them. It moved through the rune light without disturbing it. It did not fill the room. It simply appeared, around him, from him, as if something that had been held in place by a condition had just watched that condition walk out through the gates. The chains were still in place. He had not moved. His eyes were open. The archives are now closed.